All right, y'all, I want to talk through how you're going to get to the Brock Environmental Center and then give you some pointers on talking points, things for you to think about. So first off, you're probably going to be coming over the Lesnar Bridge here. You're going to pass Bubba's Seafood, good place to chow down for dinner. You're going to cross over the Lesnar Bridge here, and then you're going to take your first left past the Lesnar Bridge. Now, the Brock Environmental Center is tucked away a little bit, but really not that hard to get to. So you're going to take your first left after the Lesnar Bridge onto East Strawford Road, and then you're just going to head down just a little ways, and there's two options. Okay, you can turn onto Dinwiddle Road here. All right, this is what I like to do. Okay, you cut down here, and there's a great playground and a pond that are very easily identifiable. And you park along the side of the road here. It's free parking, and I like to park toward just past the pond here or right by the pond, and then you can walk through this really nice sandy trail. This is sort of the back way to get to the Brock Environmental Center, which, by the way, is right over here. And so this is all a park, and so you're absolutely allowed to walk along this path here, and you get to the woods, and you'll see a trail. You walk right through that trail, and once you get through the woods here, it's a very, very short little jaunt through the woods. You'll be right by one of the Brock environmental wind turbines, and then you just cut down past the wind turbine, and you'll be right at the Brock Environmental Center. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to continue down the road. Do not turn down that way, and you'll get over to Marlin Bay Drive, and that's basically their parking lot. So you would park here or park along the street near there if it's full, and then you just follow the parking lot down, and that will bring you to the Brock Environmental Center too. You won't really see the Brock Environmental Center from the parking lot. It's a bit of a walk, but there's not much parking here, so you might want to think about parking along the road. And I gave a couple options there. Okay, enough of that. It's going to be a beautiful place to hang out for a while, this Brock Environmental Center, and I want to make sure that you have some good talking points. So let's get started by talking about sea turtles and also painted turtles. So both sea turtles and painted turtles are affected by climate change, and that's going to be a theme that you're going to be thinking about at the Brock Environmental Center when people are coming up to your station. You want to essentially be using these organisms and the dynamic excitement of what's going on at your station to get people to think about how these organisms will be having their lives altered as a result of climate change. So sea turtles are becoming much more female than male because of temperature changes. When they are babies, the temperatures of the air and water, the warmer the temperature, the more females are born, which is pretty interesting. The temperature plays a role in whether the turtles come out female or male. As a result of this, we're seeing with sea turtles two females for every one male. That wasn't always the case, but now we're seeing many, many more females than males. And as a result of that, the population of sea turtles is becoming more at risk. So that's an interesting piece with the sea turtles. There's going to be a sea turtle skull that's going to be there. And just so you know what one looks like, here's a sea turtle skull. I'm not sure of the exact one that's going to be there, but you see the eyes, the nose, the beak, and that's something that people will be able to check out. It was found in the bay. So, sea turtles, an interesting fact about a sea turtle is that they lay their eggs in mass, and when they all come out, we think of a baby turtle as Keystone Prey. So this is a huge food source that's really, really important at a specific time of year for animals to sort of feast on these babies when they're coming out and trying to make it to the water. And that might seem sad, but it's important. And also, they're very, very vulnerable. Turtles tend to lay in the same spot year after year after year. Their babies lay their babies there, and as the sea levels rise, the turtles are going to be laying their eggs in the same spot, and it's going to be closer to the breaking waves where it can disturb and hurt the chances for their baby survival. So that's sea turtles. Onto the painted turtle, which is more of a freshwater species, right? What's interesting about these turtles is that they're sort of a mid-level predator. So there are things that prey on them. So they're a food source for many organisms that, from birds to foxes. But they also have their babies en masse as well, and so their babies serve as this keystone prey, and they're a rather important species to help regulate lower populations of organisms below them, to add as food for higher trophic level organisms, and also for their babies when born, become food for a lot of different organisms. And so they're experiencing very similar problems as the sea turtles. Is that when the temperature hits 84 degrees or hotter, the turtles that are born are going to become female. If it's under 84 degrees, they become male. So you can imagine that that very specific temperature shift uh, towards hotter temperatures is going to make more females and put the species at greater risk. So that's a little bit about sea turtles. Now, on to the other station. Or here, I guess I should talk real briefly about uh, other fish that are going to be there. So, fish that might also be at that turtle station um, need submerged aquatic vegetation to hide in from top predators like turtles or other species. And so, submerged aquatic vegetation is something that's incredibly important to the bay. And also, marsh grasses are not just important to the bay and to these organisms, but also to buffer our area from storms that can surge in. And so, as sea levels rising, we're seeing a shift, and marsh grasses are drowning. And so that's just another point that you could make if you are trying to work up some talking points. Remember that submerged aquatic vegetation and marsh grasses are going to have a tough time keeping up with the rising water levels, and that's going to reduce the habitat for a lot of small local species of fish as well. All right, let's move on to the American eel. So the American eel is a really, really interesting creature because it starts its life and working towards sexual maturity in freshwater, and then it goes to saltwater to have its babies. And so this American eel in the bay is a great food source for a lot of different organisms. And it heads out of the bay in October and goes out into the Sargasso Sea in the Caribbean to have its babies. So it makes a pretty heck of a long journey past the Gulf Stream and out into the Caribbean. And the Sargasso Sea is changing as well, but it's losing sargassum, which is these like huge rafts of seaweed, floating seaweed. But that's where the eels are going to have their babies. And then the babies ride ocean currents, the Gulf Stream, back our way, and climate change is shifting the speed of the Gulf Stream, which is increasing the level of sea level rise in our area. So that's compounding the problem. Our land is sinking. The seas are naturally, not really naturally, but they're rising as a result of sea level change. And then we also have the Gulf Stream. And so all these effects are showing up in a pretty significant way with the American eel, in that it's starting to become extinct. It's been put on an endangered list. We're approaching, needing protection. And what I found in this article that's pretty fascinating is about 50% of these organisms have disappeared.